Yo, 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 it's the kid, it's the kid, it's the kid. Welcome to Woman, which stands, of course, for We Obsess Over Movies. So, on this week's episode, we will be looking at the Roman era epic Gladiator by Ridley Scott. So, today for this week, of course, we've got my regularish co-host, Mr. Basil, aka F, or whatever he wants to call himself,
or Basil,
or
to Americans.
Basil, my master detective. And also joining us this week, just to give us a bit of more context, is Mr. Antonio. So obviously, some of you guys in the football hut will know him better as Machine, but for this, it's Antonio. So this is the movie version of Machine from the Hangouts. So say hello, guys.
I might switch that to something a bit more memorable.
Machine's pretty good. It's a pretty good name, actually. I like that.
Okay. So basically, I think let me just kick things off, and then we can roll from there.
Hey, because it's a football. Sorry. Carry on.
Okay. So basically, let me just start things by when I remember when this film was first announced. Now, like when I was growing up, I used to live with this family when I was living in Geneva, and we always used to watch Roman era films. So they'd give us Ben-Hur, they give us I think Captain Nero, just all of these films, and I really liked these films. But I just always felt like whenever the way that they were done and shot, you could feel that these would age, and you felt the age of these films. And I remember seeing the poster and the trailer, and I'm like, wait, they're doing a Roman era film? What the? I remember this was in 2000. You've gone through the 1980s, and nobody had even attempted to try any film as epic as Ben-Hur or films of that time. So when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, what? Oh, no. This is just going to be really cheesy, really a mess." And obviously, because it's the year 2000, they're just going to try and make it a very millennium, really cool kind of thing. Because I didn't know that Ridley Scott was directing it. I just saw it was a poster, Gladiator, and boom. So I was like, okay, whatever.
Back in the day when the way to get people hyped was posters and trailers at the most, but you had to go to the movie theater to watch the trailers.
Yeah, I didn't have YouTube back then.
Yeah, no, because remember 2000, no YouTube, no Twitter, no social media. So the way you knew about the films was maybe you buy a magazine, or you have to just watch TV, because remember, no YouTube, so you have to watch TV, and then the adverts will come up. So really, how I knew about Gladiator was I think there was an advert, and I think it was a film show, and I just saw the poster. I was like, okay, Gladiator, what's a Roman film? What? In 2000? What the hell? So I think that was just but I think the thing about it, and obviously I'll let you just start an overall view on it. The thing about this film is, I believe that, because I've watched a lot of these films of this era, I believe that this is the best made film of this time period. And even watching it again, because I just watched it recently, yesterday, it's timeless. And even thinking about this while I was just walking around today, you could show this film in any year and you couldn't tell what year this film was made. So you can't look at the film and say, oh yeah, this is a 90s film. Oh yeah, it's got that 2000 look. And obviously we'll get to a bit more the year it was nominated in the same year as Traffic by Steven Soderbergh. And now when you watch Traffic, you can definitely tell that this is a 2000 film. It has a kind of early 2000-y kind of feel about it. So even if it's still a bloody good film, but you can tell you can tell what time it's been made. Gladiator, it's timeless. And I just think that was just one thing that stood out for me, is that how good the film looks, how much better it is than Ben-Hur and everything from a technical point of view, and how timeless the film is.
So, Gladiator was one of those few films I knew nothing about going in. I barely, knew why I was in there in the first place, in the movie theater. And I was just completely blown away by it. Partly because exactly that, I had no preconceptions going in, no expectations. I had no clue Ridley Scott was directing it. And I didn't know who the lead was. I'd never even seen him.
Yes, neither did I. Yeah, no, yeah, I
know. And if you think about that, it's really a big risk that Scott and the studios took.
Massive.
To make such a big tentpole movie with a complete unknown figure, but it's essential that he's unknown, I think. But
Oh, no,
it
no, no,
really,
because yeah, I want to expand on that point when we get to Russell Crowe, but that is an amazing point. But yeah, but Karen.
no. It's just I think it's essential because it's these films that are historical period pieces. If you have Brad Pitt, jumping around in sandals,
Well, which we did have in Troy.
Troy.
which we did have in Troy, which is terrible, but
Yep.
in my estimation, it's sort of like it ruptures the illusion. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I will say this: I think for me, Gladiator wasn't the first movie to make like the gritty, violent, really shocking side of war.
Hmm.
To give that to us, that was Braveheart. But it's the one that
Braveheart was way more extreme in that regard.
Right, but Braveheart has aged really poorly. As good as it is, and as a momentous an achievement as it was, especially for a first-time filmmaker, I think Gladiator is a superior film and will stand the test of time.
All right, so yeah, Basil, hit it first.
I mean, it's like I can't really remember what my feelings were when I watched it. I mean, we must have been like 13 when it came out. It's just, I think like you said, it really does hold up. It's such a classy film. It's really just, it's classy and it's grand and it's so, well, yeah. I mean, that's really, in terms of just basic impressions. That's really it.
Okay, so
Such
a polished and classy product.
That's what you get.
One of the things that really stands out, and I'm sure you're going to speak about this, HH, is the Hans Zimmer score is just ridiculous.
No. That is a separate topic because I've got a huge beef because after I saw the film, I just looked at like the Oscar winners, and even if I'm not big on Oscars, I still have to just mention. But trust me, that's going to be a separate topic about that because I'm going to say a statement on that which nobody's going to argue with. So we're just going to we're going to leave that for a separate. Don't worry, we're going to get to that. So let's just start off. And I think Antonio hits on the point, and it's Russell Crowe. Now, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the Insider came out in '99. Him and Al Pacino.
No, I think it's after Gladiator, actually.
Was it? Oh, okay. Because I always thought Insider came out in '99 and this came out after. So we had
because Russell Crowe was already a star by the time Insider came out, and he wasn't prior to Gladiator.
Okay, so basically, I think it's very important what Antonio said, and I think this is key. And halfway through, I realized, and it was so funny that you said Brad Pitt, because after I watched the film, I said that normally how this film goes, because we'll get to Joaquin Phoenix, but how this film goes is if a studio sees Joaquin Phoenix, what he looks like, what he's doing, you'd want a leading man, clean-shaven, square-jawed kind of leading man that the audience can get in with. That's just how these things go. Like, remember, Charlton Heston was like the Brad Pitt, Ryan Gosling of that time. So to pick a total unknown that looks like Russell Crowe, because Russell Crowe looks just like a regular dude, and there's a rugged, everyday look about him. And first of all, that is such a huge risk, but that was pivotal for the film because of the role he plays. He's a general, he's a soldier, and he's a loyal soldier that all he cares about is trying to get back to his family, but he's super loyal. He isn't a superhero razzmatazz, he's just a damn good soldier, but at the very core, it's called Gladiator because he's like all he's good at is being an amazing soldier. And obviously a strategist and everything, but he's an amazing soldier. So to pick a Brad Pitt or a leading man, it would be hard to relate to what's his characters and his story. So the thing about Russell Crowe is you could buy what he was, what his character was, because he didn't look like a movie star. He didn't act like a movie star. And the aura that he gave off was, this is just a guy that, because remember, like a movie star comes with baggage. So if you're coming in, I remember him in that film. Okay, so this is not Brad Pitt being this. Oh, this is Tom Cruise being this. But when you look at Russell Crowe, where nobody knew what the hell this guy had done before, you can fully buy this character off the bat. So Kind of do with Basil and Crow.
And yeah, like how he physically looks as well. It's like he's got this rugged earthiness about him. Like he's not a pretty boy, which would have just totally like if you think of like Orlando Bloom in Kingdom of Heaven, and how that just doesn't work. As like where he's supposed to be this like grizzled blacksmith, who's he just looks like a pretty boy. Whereas Russell Crowe, his whole look adds to his character. Like it gives it, that authenticity.
Especially when you look at the battle scenes and just how those battles. Because again, I want to talk about. I think the battle scenes is more with Ridley Scott, but I think this just goes back to Russell Crowe, the guy in the character. Because I remember watching Troy, and even when you see Brad Pitt fighting, you just don't buy it. And when you see on the Boom fighting in the Kingdom of Heaven, you just don't buy it because of what they look like. So you can't sell me that these guys can be in an intense, dangerous kind of battle, because it just won't work. So when you saw Russell Crowe in those battle scenes and struggle and everything, you really, really felt it. And the key thing as well is because the important linchpin of the film is him being a slave and him losing everything. And you really, because again, first of all, like that's journey of general seen as the heir, has his family destroyed, becomes a slave, then he becomes a gladiator, then defies an emperor and then an empire, and so forth. Like that, first of all, that's such a crazy story.
Oh yeah, it's like you said, it's perfect because it really grounds you in the epoch. It makes you believe, the illusion that this is actually ancient Rome at the peak of its powers, or not, or in the beginning of decline. And the other thing is that he's like one of those stars that's very you don't see a lot of them these days.
Oh no.
We're missing them. He has a gravitas where 10 minutes in, you already knew he's a star. He doesn't need, after that battle sequence in the beginning, where he gives that speech to sort of rally the troops and raise morale. You already know, you're completely sold. You're like, all right, this guy, I want to watch this guy for the next 2 hours. And that's not something that's happening with I don't know, like Liam Hemsworth or whatever.
Oh, Chris Hemsworth. Oh God.
No, yeah.
Oh no, I don't know, because I think that is. I mean, it is true that you said like you don't get leading men like that anymore. Like, what is the equivalent of a Russell Crowe now? Like, what's an equivalent of a Russell Crowe in 2000, right now in 2019? Like,
but I mean, I would say outside of this film, when else has Russell Crowe really like pulled out?
Yeah, but that's the other thing I was going to say, which is weird because he was so perfect for this role. He really embodied Maximus perfectly. And
I would say though that like
then I feel like he's just lazy. He doesn't give a shit,
I think also though, like Maximus as a character, so much kind of just relies on the casting because Maximus he's quite a simple man in that like he's not like Commodus, who obviously we'll talk about later, who's the complete opposite of Maximus. Like Commodus is so like full of just all these complex and twisted feelings. Like Maximus is just very simple. Like he's just he's a soldier who just wants to be with his family and just serve his country.
Well, but that in itself is a little bit of a dichotomy, because you get his desire to serve his country, and on one side, and then on the other, he really just wants to go home.
Sure, sure, and that makes him interesting and believable, and not just like completely one-dimensional. But what I mean is that as an actor, so much of it is just kind of down to like how well he's cast, for just like how he physically looks and just like how he emotes and acts. But really, in terms of like actual complex acting, he really doesn't have that much to do.
See now that's something that we're probably going to come to when assessing this film, because Basil, you've hit on something that I think that many people will disagree with and might be a controversial take, because I've always said that, look, I will not take anything away from what Russell Crowe did in this film and how he's been big within this film. But even watching it again, I was like, well, yeah, I was right that it's amazing casting. But as far as acting technicality, performance-wise, nuance-wise, I wouldn't call it one of the great acting performances. You know, like again, based on what I'm saying, yeah, of course he deserved to, and also based on just what the film was and just how iconic the film is, and obviously we'll get to the lines and everything he does, but his performance isn't as nuanced as Homeboy opposite him. Because the other dude is on a whole other level.
Well, but the other dude is one of the best actors of all time, but in my estimation, at least.
No. I'm gonna preach about that dude. We're gonna preach about that dude for sure. But
can I say something? I'll agree with you, but for this particular character, and you know, for me, there's certain things that certain qualities that actors have that if they have it in spades, it's enough to make them a star. You know, usually. You can be like a magnificent actor, like a thespian, you know, where you really embody the character and you're sort of chameleonic in your approach to the roles. And you know, somebody like Gary Oldman or actually
Daniel Day-Lewis
or Joaquin Phoenix.
Or Joaquin Phoenix is a perfect example. Other actors have extreme charisma, and that's all they need. Somebody like Jack Nicholson is just pure.
Yeah, that's who I was thinking.
Yeah.
He doesn't need anything else, really. You know, although he's a competent actor, his primary and his main asset is his charisma.
Yeah, but also Jack Nicholson, you can.
And there's people that sort of straddle the line. You know, they have elements of both. I think Tom Cruise is one of them, and that's why he's the biggest star on the planet, or used to be at least.
So Basil, you wanted to say something?
I was just going to say, with Jack Nicholson, you can point to so many films that like show off his skills, whereas with Russell Crowe, I feel like who's going to point to anything except this
Insider,
which actually I looked up. Actually, was actually before Gladiator came out in '99.
Yeah, as I said, because you see, Insider for me, that was really good acting,
and that could have been
up against Pacino. That was really good acting. So, but for me, I have to say that, look, because a lot of, I think, and this is my, okay, I don't know whether it's an issue, but it's just my thing that when this film was released and the reception of this film, it was all about Russell Crowe and Hans Zimmer. Those are the focuses. Whereas I felt that Russell Crowe was damn good, but I think the standouts were Joaquin Phoenix, Hans Zimmer, and Ridley Scott. I felt those were the real standouts of the film that jumped out to me. And I didn't feel like if Russell Crowe was on the same level as what Hans Zimmer did, what Ridley Scott did, or what Joaquin Phoenix did. But it just
I'm going to disagree with you. And by the way, I'm just sorry. I'm just going to finish my thought. The other thing that an actor, an asset that an actor can have is gravitas, what Russell Crowe has in spades.
Yes, and he does bring that.
Every single word he said, you know, just his presence. He doesn't have to say anything, but like, you know, the camera immediately locks on him, and anything he says seems commanding. And there's very few actors with that quality.
Yeah.
One of them actually is used to be a big star, but by the time Gladiator came out, he was on the way out. He's actually in it. He's the slave trader that
Oliver Reed.
Oliver Reed, yeah. He's got that in.
Well, Oliver Reed is, I would say, far more.
No, much more.
Like,
yeah, for sure.
And his performance is brilliant in Gladiator, by the way.
Yeah, I love his performance in Gladiator. Well, we'll get to that.
Oh no, we will. We're gonna. Okay, so let's now for me, in my view, see, when I first watched the film, as in the first time, the thing that stayed with me was I was like, who the hell is this dude? Because remember, I didn't know who the actors were really. So obviously, with the whole Russell Crowe thing, I was cool, but I would say, wait, who is this dude? And from the moment you see this guy, he makes an impression on you. Like his eyes, the way he looks, his face, his expressions, it just sort of just gives you this kind of shivering feeling of like, no, this guy, there's something very deep and complex about this guy. And that is why, for me, in my view, I feel that Joaquin Phoenix gave, in my view, one of the greatest performances of all time, and one of the most memorable performances of all time. And for me, it's the double whammy. It's a case of perfect casting and superb acting. You see, for me, Russell Crowe is great casting, superb casting. For Joaquin Phoenix is superb casting and quality acting. Because the thing about what he does is there are so many levels that he brings to Commodus, because he brings the vulnerability, the childishness, the where he's unsure of unsure of himself, paranoia, evil, like complete power. He brings all of these different elements to the role, because again, when he's with his sister, there's that kind of sick, weird, romantic, lonesome thing that he brings. When he's with his father, Marcus Aurelius, there's that whole childishness. Am I not good enough? A bit lowly. But then when he's now in the Colosseum, or when he's with the Senate, there's that kind of strong, evil, dictatorial thing that he brings. And just the levels that this guy, because again, for me, like, again, as Basil would know, like, I was an actor. Like, I wanted to be like an actor. So whenever I'm watching films, I'm more drawn to the actors, because that was what I wanted to be.
Did you get that right away? Because for me, I was impressed with Phoenix, but I thought it was really just like Faisal said. It was just a case of really good casting. I had no clue that he would go on to have a career where, like, each role that he takes is fairly distinct from one another, and he just kills it in most of them. And he got robbed of an Academy Award for The Master.
Robbed. But see, again,
and that was against Daniel Day-Lewis, which is it goes to show you how good that performance was.
Wait. What year was he? Say, so what year did Daniel Day-Lewis beat him?
Lincoln.
For The Master.
Oh, The Master. Oh, okay. You know what? In my view, the robbery was for this one because Benicio del Toro won for Traffic. And for me, I've seen Traffic and Del Toro. Yeah, it was good. It wasn't this.
Yeah, if Del Toro was going to get, I don't like Traffic actually, but if Del Toro was going to get an Academy Award, it should have been for Fear and Loathing.
Or 21 grams.
Or 21 grams, yeah.
Yeah, 21 grams. But for me, like, I just felt that, like, I mean, yeah. So sorry, Basil, Phoenix, speak on it.
Am I not merciful?
Merciful!
Look, I mean, you said it really. I think what I like so much about Commodus is it's how well he works against Maximus, in the sense of, like, how they have so much dramatic tension between each other. And, like, they're just like, for one, they're complete opposites in character, like, in every way possible.
Yeah.
Like, Maximus is the strong, like, sort of just reliable, solid, just simple, but brave and tough, reliable. I think I said reliable already. Guy. He's honorable and he's
resolute,
a proper soldier. Whereas Commodus is, like, even, like, when he tries to list his qualities, courage, perhaps not on the battlefield, but
ambitious.
Yeah, he's like you said, he's uncertain and he's cowardly and he's manipulative and he's twisted and he's just all the things that Maximus isn't. And that ties into his jealousy of Maximus, that, like, his father, who Commodus wants to impress and who wants to be a favored son of, is pushed aside essentially in favor of Maximus. So you just feel that just resentment he has, and then just how Maximus is just in his way constantly. He's just this thorn in his side, and it's just so perfect how they play off each other, even though they're not really in that many scenes together. And it just heightens Commodus's weakness when you have Maximus as just like this source of just strength, and then you just have opposite him this really just awful.
I mean, it's They're the exact opposites. I completely agree with you. And even in their desires, they're the exact opposite. Because Maximus is trying to get rid of his power.
It's the last thing he wants.
And be rid of it. And the thing that really consumes Commodus is the thirst for power.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And it goes to speak about the quality of the filmmaking, and also the script is surprisingly that in the first 5 minutes of the movie, you already know all the character dynamics are.
Yeah, that's true. And you've already got a basis for drama.
Established it in a subdued and sort of discreet way, For instance, you have the battle sequence in the beginning with the Vikings or whatever, the barbarians, the barbarian hordes, and then after that, Commodus shows up with his escorts, and none of the soldiers even look at him.
Did I miss it? Have I missed the battle?
If I missed the battle, yeah, exactly. And they're all looking out towards. It seems like it's the emperor, but it's not really. It's the emperor and Maximus, but they're all paying homage to Maximus, and they couldn't give a shit if he was there or not. You already see a sort of the envy consuming him there.
Yeah.
And then that scene where he's fighting the soldiers. He's doing this sword play with the soldiers.
Oh yeah. But it's all very choreographed and
he's giving it 1,000%, and you can tell that they're really just.
They're okay. Look,
they wouldn't hurt him.
Just make him look good. Let's try to make him look good.
Let's just make him look good. But he's he's so he wants to be tough no matter. You see Maximus looking at it, and he's poor guy, what a weakling. And even his father. And that's the tragic element, is that you understand why he became like that.
I think that's a good segue, because that's why I want to bring in Richard Harris into this. Because I think that two of the most powerful scenes, or not even the two very powerful scenes in the film, is when Marcus Aurelius' scene with Maximus and his scene with Commodus. Because again, it just shows the brilliance of the screenwriting, which is what Antonio alluded to, that at the very beginning, you already know the character dynamics and the motivations. And you're already drawn because you're like, wow, this guy says that I'm not going to give the power to my heir because he's morally corrupt. I'm actually going to give it to a flipping soldier, a general. And in yourself, that you basically, again, that's how you now enter into the psychology of Commodus, where it's like, you're actually going to give it to a bloody soldier over me? And that's how you get into the psychology of Maximus, where this guy actually loves me more than his own flesh and blood. That he's willing to pass the power to me over a guy that is actually his heir. Which is why when you, basically that scene with Commodus and Marcus Aurelius, that is such a powerful scene, because when even Commodus lists that the virtues that you're asking me, I don't have them. But he says that, what about ambition? I am ambitious. What about courage? Okay, not on the balance, but what about these things? It's because he knows that, okay, I am not the quote unquote the quintessential kind of leader.
Devotion.
But I still have these traits that I feel can be strong as a leader. So I just think that those two scenes, I just think are pivotal in figuring out the kind of dichotomy of Maximus and Commodus.
Which older or wiser man is to take my place? He's just that scene is so he's got no humility, he's got no grace. He's full of just bitterness and arrogance and greed and jealousy. And he sells it so well.
But the thing is, and you're right about all those character traits. But the thing that makes it believable and sort of a tragedy is that you can understand why he became the way that he is, because of his father's absence and the way that he treated him his whole life. So that resentment is something that built up over the years and resulted in the commodus we see in the movie.
Yeah, because and you can sympathize in the sense that like Maximus is just who he is. Like that's just, and that just happens to be what Richard Harris admires more. And Joaquin Phoenix is who he is. You can feel that frustration.
You can't change who you are. You can't change who you are.
Yeah, and it's just like, why can't I be more like Maximus? Why can't I?
But all he wanted in the end was his father's acceptance and love, which he never received.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can sympathize.
And it's translated into a thirst for power, which is really more a desire to prove his father wrong, that he could be a great man.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it just, and as you said earlier, it just shows or reflects how good the writing is for this script.
So yeah, I want to now Oliver flipping Reed.
Good man.
Okay, now look, Spacey. Shadows and Dust. Now, basically, my thing about this is that again, this goes back to when I went on an acting course and just did acting lessons and everything. And like what they teach you, and the keys they teach you is stillness and using your eyes. The eyes are the most powerful tool to really evoke the emotion that you want the audience to really understand. And a powerful scene is when wait, what's his character's name?
Proximo.
Proximo. So when Proximo retells to Maximus when he was a gladiator and the Colosseum, like when you're watching it, you can really, and even without us seeing the Colosseum, the way he paints the picture and how he reminisces about it. And just how you can basically look into his eyes and be like, wow.
I don't know.
It's the most amazing place.
I feel like sorry to interrupt.
No, go.
I just feel like the kind of acting that he brings in that scene is not the kind of acting that Joaquin Phoenix brings. Like Joaquin Phoenix is bringing like a very sort of mature, sort of advanced kind of acting. Whereas I just feel Oliver Reed's it's just this kind of grand theatrical, sort of almost slightly childish.
Well, no.
Over the top.
But see, let me respond to that. See, the thing about this is that,
which I love.
No. But see, the thing about it is that his character is very low in this film because he gets treated like crap.
Yeah. Well,
but the thing about it is that, which is why he has to be like that, because in his mind is like, man, I was great. I was something. Hence why when he, the greatest moments for him was when Marcus Aurelius touched him on his shoulder. That's for him is the greatest moment of his life. So everything is like whenever you meet those guys these guys are low, they maybe poor them and like that. But whenever you ask them to tell you stories about when they met the president and that, they will be theatrical, they'll be big because they need to be like that because that's what they are based on how low they are. Because this guy is low and dirty, but he had a high point. And when you ask him about his high points, he is going to be extravagant about his high points when he explains it.
I mean, low key, he's actually one of my favorite things about this film.
Oh no! It's I told you that scene because again, because I hadn't watched this film in about a few years. When he describes the Colosseum, I was like, "This is ridiculous!" Like, this level of acting doesn't make any sense.
You know how hard it is to deliver a monologue like that and not sound theatrical and
sure.
Yes.
It's virtually impossible, and he does it in the absolute. He nails it.
He's talking about thunder and as if he were the thunder god himself.
It really helps that he's British and he's got that accent.
No, but I think the thing about it is because you buy again. That's where you fully understand what the characters and you buy everything about it because, again, I told you, even without seeing the Colosseum as a viewer, I could use my imagination to picture just how amazing this Colosseum must be.
Yeah.
Because how he talks about the crowd, how the crowd chants your name, how the crowd pretty much are baying for every single kind of clash of the sword that they have. So when you because look, the film is called Gladiator. So when that scene tells you about the epicness and the grandness and the majestic nature of this Colosseum.
Of course, completely. But it's also a scene that's so telling about the character itself. You know everything about the character that you need to know with that one monologue. You know what drives him? His life goal and his aspiration was glory.
Yeah.
Which Maximus isn't like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting.
And
like how all these characters have all these things that
and
they want that Maximus ends up getting, but that Maximus doesn't want.
Right. And Commodus only thinks he wants glory, but that's a desire that he put, foremost in his mind because of his father. What he wants is acceptance and love.
And actually, and also as well. Now I remember, I think this might have been before I saw the film. I remember I was in school, and in the library there was an article, and in the article it said that I believe I may be wrong, but this is the first time ever an actor has died during the filming of a production.
No.
And the issue, and I remember like the article said that they were now sort of like scramble as to how do we get him in the film because he's died during the film. And obviously those that scenes with like shadows and dust, you can see how it's done. He's digitally been put in.
There's a CGI moment of him.
Yeah. But the thing about it is that it's so sad because I really believe that he may have had more of a role in the film.
I think though, I mean, possibly, yeah, but like his character kind of becomes like once they leave Zuckerbar and come to Rome, his character kind of doesn't have that much to do anymore. Like,
I just want to see more. I just want to see more about the acting.
But what about Brandon Lee during production of The Crow?
I think the few moments that he had were so sweet that if you kept going back to him and to his character, it might have diminished from that.
Sure.
And that way, sort of mythologized in our viewing of the film.
Yeah.
I think you are right. Yeah, Brandon Lee, The Crow.
Yeah.
Nice.
I was speaking over you, Antonio. Sorry, but
no problem. Brandon, you know what's weird, man? I always grew up like when I was 6 years old or 7. This is a bit of a side tangent. I always grew up thinking that Bruce Lee had died shot on set, and it turns out it wasn't like that. But then his son died exactly like that.
Yeah,
it's bizarre, huh?
Oh no, crazy. I mean, like, so that whole thing just extremely sad. Ridley Scott.
But just to like wrap up with actors, just want to give a shout out to Connie Nielsen, who's Awkwafina's sister.
Oh no, because I think again,
she gives a really solid performance.
Yeah, she had to in this because again there was actually now I've got a question to ask. Who is the father of her child?
Oh, you never see him. Like he's mentioned, but
no. Okay. Do you know the scene when the child goes to Maximus and he then says, "Oh yeah, I was named. My name is Lucius Thingy. I was named after my thingy." And then you then see Maximus.
That's the whole like subtext of that is that it may have been Maximus's.
Oh, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And also
it's probably their child.
Yeah, as in like no. I think what the point is that Maximus has never met him before, and he obviously had a relationship in the past
with her,
with Connie Nielsen. But
why did he react that way?
Because he didn't know that was Connie Nielsen's daughter.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
He just thought it was some kid, like just some kid, like come.
There's the way that they speak about the child and everything. You can tell that that's sort of in the, that it's a secret that she's kept, but it's probably his child, and the way that the kid looks at Maximus and there's sort of like a little bit of a deep moment.
I mean, I don't know enough about it to really say, but I would disagree with the idea that Lucius is Maximus's son. I think it's just that Maximus hasn't met him before.
Oh, right.
So doesn't know that he's speaking to Connie Nielsen's son. He just thinks he's talking to some kid. That's and then when he says Lucius Farris, or names his father, Maximus probably does know the guy who Connie Nielsen got with eventually. and so would have been the fun. So he would know that. So he would be able to make the connection. Oh, right, this is.
But then, why does Connie Nielsen's character exist?
Okay, wait. Let me look up I forgot what her character's name is. Lucilla.
Yeah, but why does her character exist with a prior history with Maximus?
I think,
if not to allude to.
I mean, that's a good point, but I suppose I just thought it would just be to create a bit more dramatic tension between them.
And if you think about it, it's perfect because Maximus, as you see him now, he's sort of like a male Mary Sue. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Perfect.
Sure.
He embodies all the virtues perfectly.
I suppose, but
there's a dark link between the boy and Maximus. Like there just seems to be like a link between them.
I think the thing is, though, it doesn't make a difference really either way. Like story-wise, it doesn't affect the story in any way.
But in terms of the character, it does, because the character really is a Mary Sue if you keep him with totally spotless virtues.
Mm.
But then if you have a character that's potentially impregnated another.
Well, I guess I never thought of that, but yeah, I suppose it makes sense.
No, but also as well, I think just to speak on, is it Lucilla?
Lucilla,
yeah. Yeah, like those scenes with Commodus were really powerful because
like most of her scenes are with Commodus.
Yeah, and also remember the complexity is this is my brother who is trying to have sex with me, and
but
I know how messed up he is because if I now remember this is back in the day, so this is way before #MeToo. So if I aggressively try to reject it, this guy can easily have me killed because this guy is a psychopath, as me and my father know. So it's the whole thing of she has to carefully play that fine line of like in the best way possible, sort of push him away whenever he sort of like romantically tries to get towards him because instead that she's fearful of him because this guy is evil.
Yeah, and it's not even about like pushing away his advances. Like she knows probably yes, she knows that he killed their father.
Yeah.
But she's so worried about her son and what Commodus might do to him if he suspects that she is disloyal. That she just has to be like, she has to constantly maintain this illusion that she's fully supportive of him and fully on his side. And so every scene is full of that subtext. And it's just great. Like, yeah, she acts it great.
Oh no, very well, very well. So let's go to Mr. Ridley.
Mr. Ridley, and this is the second film of his that we're talking about.
Yeah. Oh no, is it? Yeah. Because we did
Blade Runner. Yeah. Have we talked about any of his other?
So basically, for me, you see, again, look, I mean, like, me and Basil, we go back and forth about Ridley Scott, especially for Alien, for Blade Runner, and so forth. And you have to understand that. Remember, they had never really like the last time we had like a epic Roman era film was way back many years before. So this was a massive kind of undertaking.
Like sword and sandals epics.
Basically, sword and sandals. Yeah, like so this was a massive undertaking, and that is why I was so surprised by the film because I grew up on the sword and sandals films, and I was just surprised that people were actually going back to do this again in the year 2G. So, but my thing about this is, see, the best way to sort of talk about Ridley Scott is, I think of the Game of Thrones battle scenes. And the Game of Thrones battle scenes, I believe, are some of the best battle scenes that we've ever seen. And like just based on the best that we've ever seen. But remember, okay, so basically, yesterday, like, obviously, I don't watch Gladiator for many years, so this was me just coming back. Because I remember, like, man, those Colosseum scenes were crazy, but I'd not seen it for a long time. But watching it again, from a visual point of view, there's just a style that has that when you just see that Colosseum, because I was just thinking that this just looks bloody crazy.
Yeah. And not even the Colosseum, not just the Colosseum scenes, the very first opening battle is so well shot, like with the music, with how it's just edited and paced and just how it looks.
It's incredible, yeah, actually. Yeah.
Okay. You know what? Okay, let me be real. Okay, this is about being real. This is about being real. See, that opening battle scene I thought was cool. I didn't think that it was great.
Okay, fair.
So I thought it was, it's just cool. But for me, I felt that as when they went to Rome, as they were going to the actual Rome and everything, that is when Scott really went to town. So, so again, look, I mean, visually,
the whole film is beautiful.
Can I tell you why I like that opening battle scene? Because
go for it.
You know, I was trying to review the film for this talk, and I didn't get a chance, so I only watched the first 20 minutes, and that's one of the ones that I watched. And it's impressive because so the music and the editing. The music starts as sort of like super grand and triumphant, and it's sort of, it goes along with the scenes that you're seeing, which basically depict the grandeur and the power of Rome, and the superiority that they have over the,
you almost get the sense that the battle's won, even
the battle it's like
because of the music.
That's ultra organized. They have these catapults, which was the equivalent of having like a nuke.
And the music, sells you on the idea that
and
you've already won.
And the music goes along with that, but then all of a sudden it shifts from that grandeur and very epic feel, and it shifts to something more tragic, and then all of a sudden the tone of the scene shifts completely. And it goes into like these super tight shots in slow motion.
Like very kind of like weird kind of stop motion.
Yeah, it's very muddy and
stop motion, like 20 frames per second or whatever. And it becomes more about the gritty reality and essential tragedy of war, where nobody really wins. There's no sides win in war. You know what I mean? And the music just is really beautiful and really poignant.
I mean, again, just to even throughout the entire film, I think it's something that I sort of learned when watching like the Blade Runner like behind the scenes there, because they say like Ridley Scott is one of the best directors for lighting. He literally will spend like hours working on the lighting of a scene.
And you can really see that in this.
So I mean, like the scene in the Senate, I'm like, this looks ridiculous. Like, I've never seen anything that, hence why this is so timeless, because of how he lights the scene and just how he makes it look like a picture. This looks like, how would you tell what year this was made? It just looks like this film just came out whenever, No, but like basically, because even just back even to the Colosseum again, like, when Marksman says that whatever comes out from that thingy, as long as we stick together, we will survive. And even just that anticipation, like, man, what the hell are these guys going to face? And you then see like the chariots come through, and I'm like, the quality of the armor, how he shot, how they circle around that, and just the dynamics of the fight, and the female archer with her, like, I said, this looks beautiful. Even if it's like it's war and it's bloody, it's extremely violent, there is just an amazing beauty about what you're seeing in such a violent arena.
That's the whole film is so beautiful to just look at, and then when you combine it with the music, it's just like, I think it's stunning. Like, especially when you get towards the end with Maximus dying, it's almost like haunting how beautiful it is. Like,
and also remember the transitions that he uses, where he films like the skies and the thing, and it's like really like quick frames.
But he doesn't overdo those visual gimmicks like his brother Tony Scott does, or did. But one of the things that I thought, even though I did think that the Colosseum scenes were super epic, it could have been more epic, actually.
Sure.
I was disappointed that he didn't go that route, because they used to do in the Colosseum. This is legit. This is historical. They used to flood the Colosseum.
Oh yeah. I remember hearing that.
Naval battles in the middle of the Colosseum. I mean, that's such a cinematic, image that.
So
this just put it with, I guess, it fights in water.
As in, they would actually fill the arena with water and just have boats.
Water, and there would be like ships coming in and
what?
Naval battles.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But the scenes that he did, I mean, the fight with the tiger and everything, and those super tight shots, and that are really confusing and ultra fast editing. I don't think we'd ever seen that before in.
Oh no,
like this.
And also, when he fights the champion, like I love that mask. I remember when I first saw the film. That's such that mask is just bloody amazing. And just what the champion looks like, and even that's because it's him fighting the champion plus 2 tigers as well. And I said just the madness of what is happening. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
It's such a good film, and I feel like it feels weird to talk about this now since we did Shawshank last week, but which is just another almost perfect film.
That's incredible. You did Shawshank, amazing. That's cool. I wish I would have been a part of that.
Yeah,
that's another one of those few movies where I went in to the cinema with no clue what to expect or what it was all about.
And that's the best way. That's the best way.
Redemption means, is going to be about. But yeah, like Gladiator, I think is another film that's it's almost perfect. Like it's so high quality in every facet.
And it's a simple story.
Great.
But strangely, it's bizarrely. I completely agree with you, Faisal. But it's bizarrely divisive with the people that with my circle. It's crazy. The people either love it or they dislike it.
What are some of the main gripes?
Yeah, why would people dislike it?
They just shuffle in their seat and they squirm and they can't really say why.
I mean, you can argue that the film drags in the middle.
I don't even think that. I think
you can argue it. I wouldn't say so, but I would say that there are moments where you could say things don't really happen, where it's just Commodus talking to his sister.
I mean, that's fine. But you need those characters more.
Well, yeah, but I can see why people would argue that it's just well, yeah, okay, we get it. Commodus doesn't like Maximus, and Commodus wants to bang his sister. Okay, we get it. Let's just move along. And
actually, one critic I saw on Reddit, and I had to basically reply to this guy angrily. He said, "Oh no, Gladiator is overrated because it's not historically accurate." And I was like, "What?
Who cares?
It's a flipping story, man. It's a film. Does it have to be we are making since it's wrong, we have to make it historically accurate? It's just a film." So, but look, now, I told you that I don't care about the Oscars and everything, but look, I always just look at the whole thing and everything. In my view, and again, I think you guys probably know about this, but in case you don't know, me and Mr. Faisal, we went to the same school, so we've known each other since we were 14, and I remember that when we're in school, normally when teenagers are in school, the only music they buy is hip-hop, rock, or popular music. Nobody touches any soundtrack because, look, we're teenagers. I remember when people said, "Man, have you heard this Gladiator soundtrack?" I was like, "What? Soundtrack? What do you mean by bloody soundtrack? What the hell? What the hell? As a teenager, am I listening to a bloody soundtrack? This is not like bloody classic FM." But everybody kept talking about, have you listened to the soundtrack? And this soundtrack had sort of now entered into popular media because of just how iconic it was. And for me, music for me is critical to films. For me, I feel it is very critical. And I feel that a lot of people don't value how important a soundtrack is to a film. And for me, I'm going to put this out there. And people can say what it was. From top to bottom. From top to bottom. So not just track, but top to bottom, this is the greatest soundtrack of all time.
Nah.
Okay, what? Remember, from top to bottom, don't just give me because again, I know that people will say, "Oh, what about Superman and Star Wars?"
No.
Superman Star Wars just has the Superman is just that one track.
Yeah. I would say Lord of the Rings soundtrack.
No. I would say Lord of the Rings is up there. I would say, but Gladiator also is, But
sure, but I don't think.
Okay, to respond to you, do you know why? Because trust me, I know those Lord of the Rings soundtracks very well. I'm thinking about it. Look, my thing about this is that it's a lot of tracks, and there are a lot of tracks that are just sort of filler and just sort of go through. Gladiator soundtrack is every single track is money. Every single track is money. No, I agree with you. I'll throw another one out there that's sort of off kilter as a choice, but I really appreciate it. Is Mission Impossible 3
Well, I don't know that one.
by Michael Giacchino.
Oh, Mike Giacchino, no, he's very good. He's a very
He did The Incredibles, and he's just a really good
speed racer.
Yeah, but Mission Impossible 3 is amazing.
I mean, no, look. I mean, look. There. I mean, like, if you want to go soundtrack, I mean, you have Thomas Newman with Road to Perdition, Alan Silvestri, Back to the Future, even Captain America as well. So
Danny Elfman in Batman.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, come on, yeah. But my thing is that I just feel like, you see, my thing about this is how, because there are many really good soundtracks that don't necessarily really marry with what you're seeing on the film. Like, for example, I think the Man of Steel soundtrack is bloody amazing. The film is garbage. So, as good as the soundtrack is, Hans Zimmer did for Man of Steel, it's margits with garbage visuals. But
it's absolute garbage. I mean, you remember that trailer that was just the piano? And it was Russell Crowe, actually. Russell Crowe voiceover.
Oh, yeah.
He's talking about, like, the aspiration of Superman, of what he means as a symbol and what he's going to turn out to be. And that trailer is 60,000 times better than the actual movie. It's
1,000%. No, that's why I was excited for the film based off the trailer and the music. And then I was like, okay, what the hell did I just watch? But look, I mean, like, when I think they're in the, that kind of, like, I don't know, I don't know what's called. Okay, maybe it's like the Gladiator green room or something, when they're about to get ready to go out in the, like, just the music that's being played, you really feel the epicness and just the kind of anticipation of what is happening. And this, because the film is so epic and really Scott just goes to town on the visuals, Hans Zimmer's soundtrack is completely in tandem with just the epicness and the visual kind of storytelling that's being made. So as you're watching the film, on a subliminal level, the scenes are even more heightened by the music and the soundtrack. Hence why I think a lot of people don't appreciate quality music, because they don't know that it is subliminally heightening your visual experience.
Yeah, completely. And it's so well. Sorry.
No, go.
Yeah, it's the transitions that he does and how he does it seamlessly to complement what you're seeing and what's happening on screen. Like I said, I only watched the first 15 minutes prior to this hangout, but there's this one scene where Maximus meets Connie.
And there's the music there is beautiful
for the first time, and it's sort of like the music is transmitting the kind of they're not the ill-at-ease nature with which they're interacting. And then Maximus asks her about her son, and the music shifts instantly, and she becomes disarmed by the very mention of her son, and it changes from there. And it's such a subtle change, but it's very tough to craft a soundtrack that's perfectly complementary of.
Oh no, it is, and I think, like, I've seen so many films where either the soundtrack is not very inspiring or it just doesn't go with what I'm watching on the film, and this does it very well. But again, look, Now We Are Free, one of the most iconic songs made in soundtrack history, and just that ending, and just I was
hoping you would try to sing it.
Everybody
want me to go ahead. No, look, that's just that for me. Just that ending, the music, and just how, remember, it transitions between him at his very last moments in the Colosseum, and then interlacing with him going through the afterlife, seeing his wife and his son, going through the door and everything, and just how the music is being played over that and everything. I'm like, no, this is just cinema.
I still tear up.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask. Did you all shed a tear in the movies?
And a lot of that is to do with the music.
Yeah, I did. It's one of the few movies that tears me, that gets me to tear up, or it did at the time.
Oh no, it is very because
very moving.
Yeah, because it's such a bittersweet, and I just, again, it's because it's if the music wasn't as powerful, I don't think you guys would tear up.
No,
I think that music with Ridley Scott's directing and Russell Crowe's acting in that scene is just all comes together to be like, nah, it will rip you emotionally, you know?
Yeah.
So let's just, I mean, I want to just talk about the story beats. Like, for me, one of the best scenes I felt, again, maybe you guys can give me like a best scene that's stuck with it, but I think one of the best scenes for me is when Commodus goes to Maximus, you know, remove your helmet and tell me your name, slave, you know.
How dare you?
You know, what's it, husband of mother, wife, father of mother, son. But what I liked about that is Commodus wanted to kill him, but the crowd were with him. And you could now see, because Maximus knew that, and he knew that how much he wanted power. And Commodus knew that, man, I want to just kill this guy. And I have the power to kill this guy. But if I kill him, I lose the people. And I need the people to love him because this guy, he is so and that's the weird thing about it, is that it's weird. It's like he isn't a dictator. A dictator doesn't care about what the people think. So even if he may come off as a dictator because of how evil he isn't a dictator because a dictator would have him killed. And yeah, screw the people. Shut up. This guy's being killed. But this is why he is so confused and sort of like, I don't know what the word is. It's a contradiction because the way you're operating is like a dictator, but you still lost for the love of the people.
I don't think it's so much for the love of the people. I don't think it's the people's love that he cares about for himself. I think it's that he doesn't want the people to love Maximus, which they would do if they killed him. They'd make him a martyr, as in it would make him like a hero if he died like that, and he would be like remembered forever. And
which is why he wanted to kill him in a one-on-one.
Yeah, to be like a heroic.
Let me just wound this dude. Give me a bit of a leg up here, and he still lost.
But is that for you? That's the It's funny that you mentioned that as a standout scene in the movie, because for me, if I were to find fault with anything in the movie, it's the fact that once Maximus takes off his mask, that he isn't recognized by these people. Like, supposedly he was this general that was loved by thousands and thousands of troops, right?
Well, yeah, but he was mainly fighting very far away.
Maximus, and why isn't there like a movement for insurgency as soon as they figure out that it's him being the gladiator?
But I don't think the people would know Maximus.
Yeah,
like, he's fighting wars like in Germania.
Yeah,
far away. Like
he was fighting wars in Germania with an army at his side, and the name of Maximus spread like wildfire. I mean, he was.
There's no Twitter, bro, or Facebook.
There wasn't Twitter, but people knew. I mean, there was all it took is one guy to go, "That's Maximus," and then the word would spread. And this is somebody who was being touted as being the next emperor. I mean, he effectively, Richard Harris wanted to give him.
But now, see, in the film, we are not told concretely how well known he is. So even if Aurelius is touting him as the next emperor, that isn't evidence that, oh, this guy is still a well-known general. We are not told succinctly that this general.
The only information we're directly given is that his troops under him respect him and love him. But other than that, we don't really know how well he's known.
Because remember there are many generals.
Just like one of those. I mean, even though like all those soldiers are established as being like stuck there, like way sort of out of Rome.
But
you can still imagine
this for years, and it's not just one battle. He's won every battle for the emperor. He's the emperor's right hand man.
Yeah, I mean, I can.
And that's why Commodus bears such envy for him, even prior to learning that.
Yeah, I mean, I can see what you're saying. I don't feel it impacts the story too much.
Yeah, for me, it was like it sort of detracted a little bit. Because people loved Maximus for his gladiator exploits, and not for the fact that he was a great military general. that should be a huge political. There should be a huge political schism that would initiate the moment he removed his mask. I think it would have been more interesting as well if they'd gone that route.
Okay, so yeah, standout scenes for you guys then. If you had to to pick one standout scene.
When Proximo is negotiating with Omid Jalili about the gay giraffes.
Wow.
That's my favorite scene.
Wait, why? That is interesting.
You sold me queer giraffes. I want my money back. No, I just love every scene with Oliver Reed with Proximo before they go back to Rome. But like really my favorite scenes are probably
no. But for me,
probably the last scene, honestly. Just like it's just so perfect. Like just Maximus's end.
So what about you, Antonio? Standout scene.
Yeah, I would say definitely Maximus's end. The "Are you not entertained?" Scene, which is the most iconic, I think, and also like when he's the monologue when he's remembering his family and where.
Oh yeah.
That's a nice moment.
And the scene with Commodus and the father, where like, the one that you mentioned already, where he lists out the virtues and
yeah.
Powerful scene, and then that's it.
Now, like I mean, now let's look at if you have any. If you don't, that's fine. But drawbacks. See, for me, I just have one nitpick, and for me, I felt that the gap between Maximus just being a gladiator, going through stuff, and now suddenly becoming this big thing and going into the Colosseum was a bit too quick. I would have wanted more scenes with him in these small arenas and a more gradual build-up of his name being known. Where, man, this guy is winning a lot of fights and doing a lot of stuff. We have to not take him to the Colosseum. It just seemed it was a bit too much of a jump. Almost like that whole are you not entertained? And after that, it was bam, you're now in the Colosseum.
Yeah, I mean, that sweet sauce is, man. I wish we would have seen that ascendance. Is so pleasing to watch.
Yeah, I just think like the film kind of is already pretty long, and I think it would just like drag way too much if you added more of that stuff. It's just as good as it would be. I think it just, in terms of just like keeping it like an manageable length,
right? I
think it would just be too much.
Yeah, for me, length of movies is immaterial completely. If I'm entertained throughout, it's I don't care if it's 7 hours. In fact, I'll watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy back to back. Happily. Yeah, I mean, what is that? 9 hours?
It depends. Are you talking extended editions or?
Yeah, extended editions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think length is so much of a problem, but I agree with HH that was sort of like from a visceral perspective, and where we like action movies and getting that thrill, that's where the sweet sauce was, and we could have gotten a little bit more of that, and they could have dragged out his ascendance just a little bit more. Just one more fight scene is all they needed, really. One more in that slave pit in the beginning.
Yes, yeah. That's it. Just one more, and then it just says like, okay, we've now got a bit more of the build up. Then boom, we're now getting into the Colosseum.
Yeah. Or don't even do the slave pit. You go slave pit, and then a little bit of a better arena.
Yeah,
but not quite nowhere near the Colosseum, and then you go to the Colosseum.
There we go. Yeah, it's like and I think because then it then feels as if they've sort of been on a journey. Almost like if you're like a boxer, have your few amateur fights, your few fights here, then boom, you now earn your right to now have your title shot.
Now you're about to
Just quickly, the extended editions of Lord of the Rings all back to back is 11 hours.
That's a bit too much.
Oh my lord!
I have done it once.
Really?
It requires like preparation. Like you need to plan the day.
Yeah,
planning meals. You need to like take breaks.
Oh yeah, like that would just be. I mean, I don't know whether I could do that, man. That would be too much for me. That'd be too much.
Anyway.
So let's just sort of round up sort of like impacts of this film. What's kind of impacts and lasting thing do you think this helps on cinema?
I don't, because like people don't talk about Gladiator that much. Like it's not like,
you know what? That's interesting that you say that. It's like, yeah,
it's not like, and I know like plenty of people who like just haven't even seen it, or like their opinions of it are just like, yeah, it's all right.
But they know the lines though. That's the thing. Those lines are very iconic.
Sure, but like I think it's interesting in the sense that like this film doesn't have the same kind of impact as it doesn't have the kind of impact that would warrant almost the way we're talking about it, where it's like this just like almost perfect film. And I think, yeah, like you've pointed out, Antonio, like there's plenty of people who just don't like it, and that it's actually quite divisive. And so, I mean, I do remember one time watching it, like they had it, they were showing it with like a live orchestra playing with it. And I remember getting so excited for that. And then when I watched it, I remember thinking, this is actually dragging. Like there are just moments of it that, I mean, I've said already, but that like you feel like it's just dragging its feet a bit. And
I'll be real with you. I felt that it's actually could have been longer. It actually felt short for me. That's what I think. It's actually felt a bit short for me.
The director's cut.
Well, because also of the genre, right? I mean, if there's one genre,
yeah.
It lends itself well to having like an epic length. It's this.
That is
no. I mean, because for me, like one of my favorite films of all time is Lawrence of Arabia, which has an interlude. That thing is like and that's one of my favorite films of all time. So it's like I think, as Antonio said, like when a certain genre of films, you go in with the mindset of like, all right, we're in this whole 3.5 hour bag, man. Let's ride.
Yeah, so, that's true. But look, I mean, this is one of my favorite films, and I think it's a beautiful film. It's so just, as I said at the beginning, it's just classy. It just feels so just.
Ridley Scott's best film?
That's Alien.
I'd say this is his best film in terms of just like quality. I mean, Alien is arguably, or even perhaps not even arguably, more iconic and has more of a legacy, but I think just the kind of stuff Ridley Scott pulled out with this in terms of just straight up quality, perhaps not originality, but quality. I think this is it.
All right.
And I think, it's a great film with just everything going for it in terms of just, it's the thing. Yeah.
So I'm sorry. So sort of like final roundup. And is this Ridley Scott's best film?
For me, it's Alien, but this is it's up there. It's up there. Ridley Scott is one of the few filmmakers alive that's directed more than three. That's directed 3 really, really, really good movies. And that's really a rarity. I think for directors, if you have 3 great movies under your belt, it's that means you're a great filmmaker.
I mean, Spielberg, Scorsese, maybe.
Yeah.
Kurosawa. You could argue that.
James Cameron.
James Cameron.
Are you going to say Titanic is in there? I mean, Aliens and T2, I think, are his 2 great films.
Abyss was really good.
You see, but I wouldn't call it great. I'll say Abyss is just really good. I don't call that great. I'll just say Abyss is just a really good film.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, for me, like, Gladiator, I think, just as, first was saying, like, visually incredible, really powerful story, powerful performances. And I'm always a fan of simple stories. Like, I like the twists and the crime films that are very intricate, but most of my favorite films are films that have very simple stories, but simple stories told very effectively. And in my view, I believe that this is his best film, but his best directing was in Blade Runner. I think just purely for directing, I think it's Blade Runner, but I think as a film, as a whole, story, acting, the whole package, I think this is his best film.
Is it the best sword and sandals film of all time?
Oh, easily. And I've watched most of them. Like, not easy. Like, I don't like.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I can't
easily
really
the best Color Thanos film. Easily. You know,
That was
like
the dust.
those Colosseum scenes. I'm just like, even thinking about like just what it looks like. Just those chariots, those horses,
And the music when they first step into the Colosseum, like.
All right, so I'll raise the stakes a little bit. Is it the best historical epic?
Last Samurai. No, okay, I take that back.
Well, best historical epic.
Take that back.
Is Lawrence of Arabia historical?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lawrence, no, it's not as good as Lawrence of Arabia. No. Like as a film, an historical epic, I would say Lawrence of Arabia is better as a whole. Yeah, like for me, that's the one, Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, I have to rewatch that then.
Well, you know, you definitely need to really click it because that's a long one, bro.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, since Lawrence of Arabia is the definition of epic, you know, so it's like, yeah, okay. So look, man, that is it's for Gladiatores. You know, hope you enjoy this and everything, and yeah, like I mean, we'll and look, Antonio, we are more than happy to have you more on more of these, man. So I think, you know, you make a great third wheel. So it's just for us just to really think about what we want to do on the next episode. I mean, do we do Heat? Do we do Godfather 1, Godfather 2? So yeah, we just have to sort of decide somewhere offline. But yeah, just say a goodbyes.
I think.
All right, man. Nice to meet you, Faisal. I hope I wasn't too incoherent. And
no, you were great. You were great, man.
All right, fantastic.
I think we should do Titanic.
I'll take a rain check on that. All right, guys. Peace.